Which do you prefer? Rules that are simple for your wargames or ones that are more granular? Hey everybody, I'm Ronald Long, and yesterday I recorded a video, which you can watch here, and asked the question, is one-page rules ruining Warhammer? And I agree with the comments. It's a little bit of a clickbaity title. This is YouTube. Please watch my videos. But someone brought up a really interesting point to say, Ronald, you didn't actually say what you liked about one-page rules. You just really kind of said, Warhammer bad, one-page rules good. And at the end of the video, in case you didn't watch the whole thing, I made the point to say, I personally want you to play the game you have the most fun with. Don't let me or any other person on YouTube or in real life tell you how to have fun. Please, go have fun. Play the game you want to. Enjoy. This is a hobby. We're supposed to be having a good time. But it did make me think, why do I personally like one-page rules more over Warhammer? So I asked the question, is one-page rules ruining Warhammer? Now, I don't think it's ruining Warhammer. I think James Workshop having competition is a good thing. OPR is a very small company. They don't have a ton of lore, though they are working on that. And Games Workshop does have about a 50-year advantage on one-page rules, but I'm enjoying one-page rules and how it's growing. So I wanted to say, I agree. Warhammer is in-depth. Warhammer is gritty. Warhammer is tactical. And Warhammer is granular. There's a lot of different things for each army. But let's not kid ourselves. Warhammer is complicated. And so I wanted to compare just one small aspect of the games just to see, and to maybe, if you're not familiar with one-page rules, educate you just a little bit, if you would indulge me. So we're going to look at movement, all right? Just movement, and don't click away. Come back. Where are you going? Are you going to go watch the Poor Hammer podcast today? I started already. It's really good. It's okay. If you're still with me, that's fine. I want to look at movement just for a second. Now, here's the deal. There's one-page rules version of movement, and then there's Games Workshop's version of movement. And I want to take us through both and just compare without a bunch of snarky commentary, but just to see and let you judge for yourself which you believe it is. One more granular than the other. Is one more simple than the other? And at the end of the video, why don't you comment on it and tell me what you think? So here we are. These are the free rules that you can download from onepagerules.com. I'll put the link down in the description below. And this is it, right? This is the one page. Now, again, I understand. Let's say one page front and back, right? So this is the first page. Here's the second page with the special rules. I got it. So here's everything you need to know about moving when you play Grim Dark Future, which is one-page rules version of a sci-fi war game similar to Warhammer 40,000. Right here, this is the spot. Movement, all right? Unit members must stay within 1 inch of at least one other member and within 9 inches of all other members. Units may only move within 1 inch of other units when charging, and may only charge if at least one charging model can reach base contact with the target unit. As you're reading through one-page rules, you'll see that that's mostly all they say about moving. That's all that you really need to know. Now, when you're playing one-page rules, instead of I move all of my units and go all at once, and then you move all of your units and you go at once, one-page rules has alternating activations, meaning I choose a unit, do everything I can with that, and then you choose a unit until both of us have activated all of our units. And here in this part, it talks about activations. Players pick one unit that hasn't activated yet and must take one action. Hold, meaning you don't move at all, 0 inches, and you can shoot. Advance, meaning you move 6 inches, and you can shoot after moving. Rush, meaning you move 12 inches, and you cannot shoot. And then charge, meaning you move 12 inches, and like it says right in here, you must move into melee with another unit. So when you're looking at the one page of rules, that's all you need to know about movement. It covers staying still, it covers moving normally, it covers rushing or running or advancing like in Warhammer 40k, as well as charging. Now what I love about one page rules is everything moves 6 inches. That's really all you need to know. There are some special rules that would affect that, and it's down on that second page. Let's check that out. So you see here there are the special rules that references, and there are some rules that will affect your movement, like slow. Slow here says you move -2 when using advance and -4 when using rush or charge. So if you've got like dwarf guilds, most of their units are slow. So instead of moving 6 inches, you move 4 because they have this special unit, this special rule, slow. And if you were to rush, instead of charging 12 inches, you charge 8. And then the opposite can be true as well, like fast. Units move +2 when using advance, or 4 when using rush or charge. So there are some high elf units that are fast. So instead of moving 6 inches, they actually move 8, and instead of charging 12 inches, they move, we can basic math, can't we? 16. So it takes a lot of the guesswork out of the movement phase, because everything is just like it is here. You're either slow or fast. Now there are some other special rules that only go in with certain armies. Certain parts of the army can be very slow. Others can be very fast. And it just adds 2 inches or 4 inches either way. Now, One Page Rules does have a beginner guide, and it looks a little bit like this. This is free for you to download, and it's in their Get Started section of the website. This takes it a little bit more granular, and so let's be fair to One Page Rules. They do have a bit more granularity when it comes to movement, like this right here. This, if you play war games, is probably pretty familiar to you. Measuring movement. You can't measure from the front of your base to the back of your base to move your guys and your girls around the battlefield. So basically, like if I have my human defense force or my Imperial Guard guy right here, if I measured from the front of this to the back of this, you'd basically get an extra inch worth of moving. So what One Page Rules is saying is always measure from the same side of the base, no matter when, no matter what. Pretty easy and good to understand. Then they also have this down here. Note that whilst all examples here show round bases, these movement restrictions apply in the same way to models on bases of different shape or models without a base. Meaning, when measuring how far a model moves away, always measure so that no part of its base moves further than the total distance. One Page Rules has put all of their movement rules into those ideas. That's all you need. Now, again, it is simple and it is easy to understand. You just take your model and you measure from the same part of the base as you have always when you're moving it around, right? And that's it. Just as you move, measure. So a pretty big deal. They do go into some more talking about what advancing looks like. All models units may move up to 6. Models may move and turn in any direction, regardless of their facing, as long as no part of their base moves farther than the total movement distance. Models may move within 1 inch of models from other units, friendly or enemy, unless they're taking a charge action. Note that models may never move through other models or units, even if they're taking a charge action. So you can't move through your own units or your enemy's units. And then rushing. When taking a rush action, all models in the unit may move up to 12 inches. The same rules about turning, facing, and keeping 1 inch distance applies to rush actions. And then here, charging. When taking a charge action, all models in the unit may move up to 12 inches. Models taking a charge action may ignore the 1 inch distance restriction, however. Since this is a little more complex, it'll be explained in detail in the melee section. Note that units may only take a charge action if their move would be at least 1 model into base contact with another model from the target unit. And if reaching contact becomes impossible, due to killed models, special rules, etc., the unit may complete its movement and then end its activation. Okay, well, it might get a little more granular. Let's look at melee, right? So charge moves is the extra part. And this is all it says for the additional complex movements. Charge models must move up to 12 inches to get into base contact with an enemy model from the target unit, or as close as possible, while still maintaining unit coherency. Charge moves don't have to be in a straight line. Once all charging models have moved, all models from the target unit that are not in base contact with a charging model must move up to 3 inches to get into base contact with a charging model, or as close as possible, maintaining unit coherency. So when you charge a unit, you move 12 inches and you have to come into base contact, as many of your units as you can, or models as you can. And then the person who is getting charged, they move 3 inches in order to get as many of their models as possible into base contact with the charging models. That is the complicated version from one-page rules. That basically explains most of movement from one-page rules. Now, there are some other stuff that might come up in different points, talking about terrain and whether difficult terrain blocks your movement or hinders your movement. But most of that, as it covers it in one-page rules, is fairly self-explanatory. Now, let's look at the other side. And of course, by that, I do mean Games Workshop. Now, kudos to Games Workshop. I could go and download all this stuff for free. So, I appreciate that, Games Workshop. Although I had to go to your Warhammer community page instead of just your normal page and look around a little bit. It took some finagling, but I got there. So the quick start guide here, it's similar to one-page rules in that it says you have your command phase and your movement phase. And it just gives you units that are not within 1 inch of enemy models. Engagement range can either stay still or remain stationary, make a normal move, or make an advanced move. Cool. So normal moves. Move the unit a distance of inches up to its move characteristic without ending within engagement range of enemy models. Advanced moves. As above, but roll 1d6 and add the result to the unit's move. Units that advance cannot shoot this turn, except with assault weapons, and cannot charge this turn. So in similar vein to one-page rules, you either move your normal distance or you move your distance plus a d6, variability there, and cannot shoot. And then if you want, units that are within engagement range of enemy models can only remain stationary or fall back. Fall back is like a normal move, but units that fall back cannot shoot or charge this turn. So that's all it says about moving within this part here. But if you know and recognize, it leaves out the charging because that happens in a different phase. Movement and charge in Games Workshop are two different things. So then charges is this. Your units can now charge to assault the enemy, which happens after movement, after shooting. Now it's charging. One at a time, select any unit you wish to charge with and follow the sequence below. Units that advance or fall back this turn cannot charge, nor can any that were within engagement range of the enemy. So you have to remember, if you advanced or fell back, you can't charge, and if you're already in engagement range, you can't charge as well. So you select one or more enemy units for unit to charge at. Roll 2d6. The result is the total distance in inches your unit can charge. If it's enough to move within 1 inch of every enemy unit you selected, charge is successful. Move each model towards one of those enemy units, ending in base-to-base contact if possible. One of the things that I guess irritates me about Warhammer 40K's method of moving, advancing, and charging is the randomness of it. Why do my guards have the ability sometimes to charge 12 inches, but other times can only move 2? Like, is it because they get tripped up on the battlefield? Is it because there were roots? Did Johnny break his ankle as he's running down? Like, it feels really frustrating and perhaps unnecessary to me to add in the randomness. Now, I know it can change a lot of your values and things like that, and can make the game more exciting because it's more random, but to me, I don't find that fun. Maybe you do. Tell me in the comments below. Thank you, I'd love to hear. But I don't enjoy that because it feels random and, to be honest, unnecessary. So that's where we have movement in 40K. Now this is what they have for their quick start guide. And just like one-page rules, they also have a guide that is a little bit more granular, right? This is the core rules, 60 pages worth. Games Workshop, one-page rules' extra rules is 15 pages more. Games Workshop is 60. So we get down and we find our movement phase, and the same type of things apply in Games Workshop. You have to understand how much this is to me. There is movement. Oi. Okay, just again, for me, this is 1 page, 2 page, 3 page, 3 pages of movement right here in order to explain what movement is and does. Now, it should potentially be fine just to be that, but remember, this is only movement. We still have not yet done transports, which is a thing, yes, and one-page rules also has transports, but let's also get down to, we have to get past weapons, we have to get, the charge phase. We have 3 pages of movement, and then 1, 2, okay, thank goodness, it's only 2 pages. I'm glad to know that, of movement within Games Workshop. Now what they're doing here is they're explaining moving over terrain, like what that counts. Models can be moved freely over terrain features 2 inches or less in height. Models can't move through terrain features taller than 2, but can climb up and down them. So there's climbing that happens here in the charge phase. And some of it is similar to one-page rules, except for the fact that it's happening in 2 different phases of my turn, right? And it says again, you make charge rolls for charging unit by rolling 2d6. I wish this was it, but there's more. They're the core rule updates, which have more rules on moving. So each time you move a unit, you can move any of its models you choose. The controlling player chooses the order in which to move their models. Each time you move a model, other than when a model remains stationary, see below, you can move it across the battlefield in any combination of straight lines and pivots, see below. When you're moving it, no part of its base can be moved through an enemy model or cross the edge of the battlefield. It can be moved through friendly models, but cannot end its move on top of another model. The only exception to this when moving in monster vehicles. Such models cannot be moved through other friendly monsters or vehicle models and must be moved around them instead. Oi! Alright, and then we get how to move overhanging models, and then we get how to move in straight lines, how to move in pivots, pivot values, models that are not on a round base, while in models and vehicles, pivot value 2. This is adding pivot values to this, Center of a model is without a base. Where's the center of it? Pivoting around the center axis, moving with a value of 0. Overhanging values with... Okay, I said I wasn't going to be too snarky. And I don't want to be incredibly snarky, but it feels like, to me, Warhammer is being overly complicated with its rules. One-page rule says, when you move, no part of its base can be further than its movement. So that's the movement. As you pivot, as you turn, as you go around, you don't have to be in a straight line. It's just no part of its base can go further than its movement value. And in Warhammer, lest we forget, this is also a thing. There are so many different movement values. Your normal dude, he moves 6 inches. Your tank commander in your tank, well, he moves 10 inches. Your platoon command squad, they move 6 inches. If you're normal dude, you're moving 6, you're moving 6, you're moving 6. I think these guys all move 6, thank goodness. Ogrins move 6. Infantry squad's moving 6. Thank goodness we can have some commonality here. But then you get down to your vehicles and such. All right, Rough Riders. Normally they're moving 12. So horses can move 12. But scouts only move 10, which are different than an armored sentinel, which moves 8, which is different than a tank, which moves 10, which is different than a heavy weapon squad, which moves 6, which is different than the field ordnance battery, which moves 4. My main gripe against Warhammer and why I'm enjoying one-page rules so much is the granularity of Warhammer has become overwhelming to me. So much so that I'm no longer having a good time when I'm playing a war game. And I'm supposed to be having a good time. This is a game. So maybe, and I hope, that this diatribe of movement and looking into just the movement phase of two games that are supposed to be similar in nature might help you decide which one you'd rather play. Again, I don't want you to play a game you don't want to play. If you like one-page rules, go play that. If you want to play Warhammer, please go play some Warhammer. Don't let me stop you. I don't want to stop you. I want you to have a good time. And if you're looking to have a real good time, maybe consider subscribing to my Patreon. I've got some fun stuff happening in the Patreon. We're going to chill hobby once a week. We're going to give you guys some really neat scenarios to play with you and your friends to kind of mix up your wargaming a little bit. It's going to be a good time. Patreon.com/acceptablyepic or click the link down below. Okay, what do you think? Is this just crazy talk? Do you agree? Do you like Warhammer's granularity within even different phases of things? Do you disdain OPR's movement? Is it a thing that you care about? I really want to hear from you. And if you've got things to say it down below in the comments. I would love to interact with you. And if you haven't yet, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button, do the YouTube things. I would greatly appreciate it. And who knows, we might talk more about one-page rules versus Games Workshop, especially if you give me comments that I can react to in a video. You guys are wonderful. We'll see you next time.